We spend almost double the entire budget of the Ministry of Defence on pensions alone. The problem is that the government have also promised the state pension is going to be triple locked. The JobCentre, the very people that are supposed to be encouraging him into work, said to him, if you are to seek retraining, that may call into question how sick you are, and you may have those benefits taken away from you. And so he didn't show up to the job.
Reem Ibrahim is Communication Officer at the IEA, the Institute for Economic Affairs. Reem, good afternoon to you.
Hello, good afternoon, Ian.
Nice to have you with us as always. What do you make of this? I've lost count of how many governments I've heard say, yeah, they're going to get tough on knife crime, now they're going to get tough on benefit fraud. Spoiler alert, they won't do either.
Well, I'm not against the proposal in principle. I think that in principle, trying to reduce the number of people that are scrounging or are indeed taking benefits when they otherwise shouldn't is generally a good thing to do. And the government should be looking into people that are ultimately taking advantage of a system that allows them to do so. That being said, it's really random. I mean, what does your license actually have to do with actually taking over those benefits in the first place? And also, that being said, this actually might result in lots of people not being able to work. So if you cheat the system and you take benefits where you shouldn't, maybe that's a top up, so you are still working at the same time, and you have your license taken away, then you're going to be potentially unable to work or unable to get to work. And so actually claiming those benefits may be legitimate. Exactly. So my worry is that it's a bit of a cycle, and it's almost an incredibly random thing to do. I think it's also symptomatic of a system in which people are able to take advantage, and they are increasingly able to do so. I mean, we have about 10% of the adult working population on some kind of out of work benefit, usually as a result of mental health sickness. So after the pandemic, we had huge numbers of people that were now claiming mental health benefits as a result of those issues. Now, technically speaking, it's very difficult to decide whether or not those people are lying or not lying. Many of them are probably telling the truth. But the point is that they shouldn't be able to sign off on sickness benefits when they are mentally ill. There is absolutely no evidence that when you are depressed, the best thing for you is to be signed off as long-term sick. And you know what the real scandal about this is? As soon as you are signed off long-term sick, nobody asks about you. So the job centres don't ask about you. You're not counted in unemployment statistics. So the government can say, well, we've got unemployment down really low. But how many of these people are just missing?
That's a very good point. And it's much easier, perhaps, for the system, let's call it that, to deal with somebody who's on long-term sick. Might cost them a few more quid, but actually that's a price worth paying to get rid of a bit of a headache and not have to add to the unemployment figures or get into any other kind of arguments.
Absolutely. And I really want to stress this point. It's not just about the people that are fraudulent or are intentionally trying to scam the system. There are obviously many people that do that, and I think that that's absolutely disgusting that they are taking hard-earned taxpayer money. The rest of the country has to work. That being said, I really want to stress this point. It's not just a waste of taxpayer money. It's a waste of human potential. These are people that could be contributing to the economy, that could be contributing to society, that could have the dignity that work gives you, but they don't. And it's because the welfare system actively incentivises them not to.
There's going to be a problem going forward, isn't there? Because all the smart money, Reem says, the benefits bill is going to go up. We have, obviously a big chunk, I think possibly even the majority of the welfare budget goes on old age pension. We've got more pensioners, which is fantastic in one way. Clearly, people live longer, etc. But of course, that's very costly for the health service. It's also costly for the welfare system too. So you have that. Throw in mental health issues, which have increased exponentially off the scale. So you've got increased amounts of people there. And then the other factor is AI, which sounds a bit weird now. But, again, there's a lot of good evidence that we'll have a greater amount of people not working because they simply won't be needed in the conventional workplace. So this sort of triple problem hanging around this is looks set to increase the welfare budget as we move through the years.
Yes, I will say I disagree with you about AI. I think that AI is actually quite a positive technological advancement that makes us more efficient. I mean, do you remember when computers were invented?
Yeah.
Loads of people were saying, "Oh, well, these computers are going to mean that everybody's going to be unemployed because they're going to replace our jobs." That just didn't happen. It
No.
meant that computers meant that we became more efficient. It meant the economy as a whole was more efficient, and therefore it meant that actually we're able to do things in a much more productive way and ultimately compete with our neighbours. I think what's really important though is that first point that you made about the growing size of the welfare state. You are right, part of it is pensions, and actually a lot of it is pensions. We spend almost double the entire budget of the Ministry of Defence on pensions alone. Now, that's a bit more of a difficult question because if you're a pensioner and you've paid in your whole life, you expect that state pension. The problem is that the government have also promised the state pension is going to be triple locked. So it means that it's going to rise in line with inflation or by 2.5% or indeed by average wage growth, depending on whichever one is higher. So it does mean that it's a huge, huge cost. I think there has to be a genuine conversation about whether or not the pension system is sustainable. But on this point about mental health and benefits, Fraser Nelson, who's the former editor of The Spectator, did a fantastic documentary on Channel 4. I don't normally compliment Channel 4, but
indeed, we played a little clip of it.
Good.
We played a little clip of it earlier, and Fraser was in with us at the time when the documentary came out. It was almost a departure for Channel 4. Wow, they've actually gone there. But you're right, it highlighted lots of these very problems.
Yes, and the one thing that was, I'd really recommend people to watch it if they haven't. One thing that really struck me was this story about this guy who had been claiming out of work benefits, sickness benefits for a number of years due to his poor mental health. But he actually said to the JobCentre, I want to seek retraining. I think he said something like he wanted to go and do a course on painting and decorating. And he said, I really want to, I'm feeling a bit better. I really want to get back into work because I think it'll be really good for me. And the JobCentre, the very people that are supposed to be encouraging him into work, said to him, if you are to seek retraining, that may call into question how sick you are, and you may have those benefits taken away from you. And so he didn't show up to the job.
Wow.
He didn't show up to the interview because he was being told actively by the JobCentre, this is the consequence if you show that you are well. So I think there is a real problem here that the system incentivizes people not to work. I'm of the view that we should not be automatically signing people off on long-term sickness benefits if they have mental health issues. And mental health issues are very real. I'm not saying they're not. They are absolutely real. But if you are a depressed person, surely the worst thing for you to happen to you is for you to be told by the state, don't worry, stay at home. That's probably the worst thing.
Yeah, I mean, surely it can't be beyond the wit of mankind to come up with a way that there's a line. You say, well, you can retain that assistance that you're getting from the state while you go looking for the job, and hopefully you get the job, and maybe you can do all sorts of things to continue your endeavours in trying to find gainful employment, which eventually will stop you. But if you do it in the meantime, we're going to just scrap you back. I mean, that's just clearly a nonsense, and no one seems to have been able to. Ian Duncan Smith, as you know, was amazing in really giving it a good go in trying to address this kind of Gordian knot of all problems that existed forever in the welfare system.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And part of the problem is that there are just so many different types of benefits that people can get. Yeah. I refer back to Fraser Nelson's documentary. There was one story of this very young girl. She was honestly about my age or a little bit older. She was a single mum, and she was being told that actually, if she does try and seek retraining, she'll end up having those benefits taken away from her, and that will obviously affect her son, her very, very young son. But also, they calculated it, and actually when you add up all of the different benefits that young girl was getting, it came to about £40,000. Most people in this country don't earn £40,000. I think average wages are just below 30. Yeah. So the fact that somebody on benefits with a child, I might add, is able to get money that they just will not be able to earn in the private sector, I think is real proof that the system itself is broken. Absolutely. The system is broken. Will it ever be fixed? Reem, thank you as ever. Reem Ibrahim, who's Communication Officer over there at the Institute for Economic Affairs. Thank you to her.